A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to HJN Season 4. So, what we have for today's topic, this is going to be about something that a lot of people have actually been requesting me to do, because not many seem to know the history about a certain e-commerce turned subscription video rental service known as Netflix. And well, 2644, this is pretty much where we're at the moment. So here we go. Netflix, as we know, is one of the largest known streaming platforms to date, because as of late, over 300 million users have subscribed and used the platform, including myself. I've been on Netflix since 2009. And just think, this was the point in which that they started to go more electronic and were utilizing the internet as a means to allow for subscriptions as well as their usage of streaming. Since streaming, of course, became quite a big subject by the late 2000s, Netflix certainly had to hop on the bandwagon for that matter, but did you know they operated very differently back then? In 1997, that was when the platform first launched into existence. It was first brought onto the world mainly as an e-commerce and DVD service, especially knowing that DVDs were first starting to flood the markets by the mid-90s. And by the end of the 90s was when DVDs started to become a really big and progressive piece of hardware. It was more than enough to practically wipe out the VHS in as little as 10 years of launch. And as we know, Disney Pixar's Cars was one of the very, very last VHS tapes to ever be released. So we could say 2006 was the true cutoff in which that VHS, tapes, and VCRs would officially be declared as obsolete tech. But some still find it to be a unique piece of engineering. And there's even those people who basically compare the VHS tape to the DVD, analyzing the pros and cons between both platforms. With the DVD, you of course have a lot of pros in mind. They are a common piece, even to this day, while electronic subscription streaming platforms of all sorts, Netflix, Crackle, Disney Plus, Max, HBO, Hulu, ESPN+, Big Ten, and even Roku has their own official channel dedicated to the stuff. While on the other hand, you have yourself the VHS. They of course were quite common throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and up to the mid-2000s, which, like I've said, they would officially be discontinued and fully cut off from the market, after many, many years of thriving, and often being declared as one of the biggest successful pieces of home video to date. And even though the DVD has thrived so much longer, and also so much larger than the VHS tapes, there of course were some of the cons in mind. For example, there was the VHS, of course, having more advantageous things than a DVD. You could always rewind and fast forward to where you wanted to go, and the effect of that unique grainy fuzz that appears on the screen, alongside the many other effects that the CRTs were known to make. Not to mention, there was that interesting telephone dial sound in the background. Usually this happened at the very start of the VHS tape. Don't ask me how I know that stuff. While the DVD, unfortunately, has a weird skippy thing every time you fast forward or reverse. And there's also some problems that seem to initiate in terms of scene selections within a full-length movie, or even chapter selections in a TV show. Yeah, 20 minutes per episode of the average TV show episode, and apparently they need to have chapter selections, as if it's really necessary. But I don't need to get too far on topic of this stuff, or off topic in this case. So anyways, back to Netflix. As I've said before, they first launched as an e-commerce platform in 97, but it was in 2007 in which that they fully swooped over to the internet, and their transition was successfully meant as a means of interconnecting with their many buyers as well as subscribers, which by that point was already in a pretty good place. Because of the internet though, Their viewership soared, and the money kept coming to them like there was no tomorrow. And so, we could say that Netflix has truly gotten to be one of the biggest in the entire world. But as we know, some things on Netflix are still going to be held accountable, as it seems like everybody's always wanting to tear something apart or someone apart. You know, there's always going to be those kind of people whom are hoping to find dirt on someone or something, whatever it is, and just call it out, upload it to the internet, you know, and try to make us look like fools. I mean, that stuff is out of our control. It's called history. We know what we did back then, but that's the whole purpose of change, to make us do better today. Why bring up something from like 50 years ago and try to put it out there like it's fresh new material? It's not dirt at this point. It's more like cinnamon on a funnel cake. Seriously, there's no point of that. Oh, but as we know, Netflix is still greatly responsible for harboring a good number of different media of all sorts. Remember, they had a lot of Disney-related stuff on there until Disney made their own platform known as Disney Plus. It took them over 12 years after Netflix's internet move in order for them to finally make their own platform. I don't know why Disney could have done that like 10 years ago. Or any time before Netflix could have. Considering how much bigger they were before Netflix, and even though they are still proving to be bigger than Netflix, even with their own somewhat downfall going on, there's always a lot of mixed reactions going on. Even with the latest Snow White film, for instance. Oh, but I guess we could say that Netflix still does have lots to offer. There's tons of exclusive content on that platform, which more than makes up for what it is worth. Anyone who's subscribed to that platform, please let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite Netflix exclusive film out there? Could it be the more recent Electric State? Could it be Spencer Confidential? Could it be Coffee and Kareem? Could it be any of that stuff? Who really knows? But I would sure tell you what, apart from the exclusive material that they have to offer, they still do have a good amount of different things out there worth looking at. There's plenty of material that I have not seen before and I've always wanted to see, but yet I never quite got the chance to do so. So I guess you could say that after all this time has passed, and after all these things have been put together, all my work that I've established, there's always a good time that I can basically have some free time spent on this platform in particular, and spending a good amount of my time watching through a lot of material. There are those people that might marathon or straight up binge through this stuff like it's nobody's business. Then of course, there's that simple family whom had gotten home after home, school, work, etc. to watch a movie together. Especially if it's family friendly though. Do not put an R-rated film on there. Do not put an R-rated film in front of the kids. Having two boys of my own, I'd never allow that to happen. But hey, you know, Netflix is still, quite possibly, one of the best. And one of the largest. The fact that Disney Plus is practically trying to rival Netflix at this point and try to overtake them, it's just weird, man. It's just a whole different competition, which we have streaming platforms now trying to beat each other out. No, but then of course, one of the most important pieces of history came around was that streaming platforms like Netflix came out specifically when many of us had to remain indoors for months on end. We were more than willing to kill a good amount of time watching such shows and such programs that were out, especially during that time, from October 2019 to March of 2022. It was quite a ride. But we're more than glad to have finally superseded through that whole entire ordeal. Well, I've once again managed to make an episode of HJN that lasted for 10 minutes. So, I feel like I've dragged this on far enough. The point is, we have Netflix, and it's gotten so big because of the recent analytics. 300 million users is a lot, even if it's not the highest. So, I'll gladly still remain subscribed to them, because I have a lot that I would like to watch. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel, especially with new HJN content that I have coming later. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me wherever you can find me, and stay on the Hollywood side.